improv, one gig leading to the next and meeting more people and getting more connections and kind of practicing my craft and learning and developing. And then I about 2.5 years ago, or actually a little bit over that, my wife moved to Texas for a year.
I remember that.
Yeah, to work a job that a friend of mine had offered to me, but I'm like, I would hate this so much. But who would be amazing is my wife, And so she moved to Texas for a year, and after her being there for about 6 months and me having worked a day job, during that time, we got to the point where I had enough work coming in through acting and improv that it was disrupting my day job a bit. I was having to ask for more and more time off.
Right.
It was becoming, and me being at my day job was inhibiting me from going to auditions and traveling and doing what I needed to do. And thankfully, because my wife had this cool job in Texas, I was able to quit my day job and just pursue it full time. And that was right around the time that BFP it was 2017. I competed in that and then had enough success doing stand-up comedy that I could make that part of my little, career trifecta and start, building my skill set in that as well. And my wife has, since moving to Texas, she's been, she's back now. She was only there for about a year, but she's been keeping contracts, with that job, because it is a contract job, but she's getting contract after contract and continuously working. And so I've been able to kind of continue the momentum and continue to build, my entertainment career, just to the same way it started. You do one film, you do one commercial, you do one gig, and that gets to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Eventually you build kind of a network and a net of people that, want to work with you, that know that you bring something good to the set, and they'll, I have folks that will ask me back for different jobs and stuff. So
well, it's awesome. It's great that you've been able to have so much success in that arena, and it's also great that you have a partner who is willing to be supportive and help you to follow those dreams. Because when I can speak from experience, when you don't, when you have somebody who's not on your side at all.
Corner.
Yeah.
In your corner, thank you. When you have somebody who's not in your corner, it can make it a lot more difficult.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing I'm very thankful for, and it really, I mean, it just Sarah. I think that Sarah, my wife, and I have just a really, really great dynamic. I talked about kind of the independence that we have, and our own willingness to let the other, do whatever it is that's going to make them happy, because we know that happiness and that joy that you get in those pursuits, you're just going to bring back to the relationship.
Now, did you have to sit down and have a conversation of like, hey, Sarah, this is what I need to do. This is my path. Are you cool with that? Like, was there like a powwow, or was it just kind of understood? Like, I'm not sure how I'm trying to. Like, the question makes sense in my head, but
yeah. Sure. I think I know what you're getting at. I mean, we didn't have a really hard sit down. Like there was never a point where I'm sweating bullets. Like, oh man, I got to do this thing, but I don't know how my wife's going to feel. Because I had been kind of taking steps toward that path, for a couple of years already, and we were getting to a point where we were comfortable enough financially for me to be able to do that. And the cool thing is, Sarah is generally, she's significantly more of an anxious individual than I am, like so much more anxiety. And so a lot of, I try to offer as much reassurance as I can. And the cool thing is, if all else fails, if we run into a really, really tight, financial pinch, and I just need to make a whole bunch of money in a short amount of time, then I can always go back to a sales job or something. I did sales for about 10 years, and I feel like those are, if you have experience, you can just, it's like any car dealership will hire you. It's not that big of a deal.
Just like being a cook or a
Right.
or a bartender. You could go anywhere and get a job.
Yeah. So I mean, that's always something that I kind of have on the back of my mind. But I just know that will always be temporary. Like it will always lead right back into entertainment.
You're not. You wouldn't take this as a defeat. It would be like get you through the rough patch and then back to your passion.
Absolutely.
You're
because
on hiatus, so to speak,
Right.
to use industry lingo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If that, I mean, there are a lot of people in our industry that that work full-time day jobs and still do
That's
their
true.
passion. There are touring headliner comedians that still work a day job. Many who don't necessarily have to, or maybe they do because of their specific, financial circumstances.
Right.
But not to say, but not because they're not making, a solid living from stand up.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it will ever go on full hiatus because I couldn't,
So-
I'd have to get my fix,
Yeah.
So did it go acting, improv, stand up? Did you start at improv and go, oh, this is fun. Let's see if I can read from a script, or did you? Because I know you came to stand up last. Was that like in an attempt to say like, all right, well, I've acted, which is generally with an ensemble. I'm in improv, which is with an ensemble. Can I stand on my own? Like, was that the thinking behind that, or was it just here's another fun thing to do? Let's see if I'm any good at it.
I think whenever I really stepped into stand up, it was just here's another fun thing that I can do. But all of this started for me in high school. I did 4 years of theater in high school, and that's where I was introduced into improv as well. So and I loved acting. And we did one act plays and went to competition and all that kind of stuff. And I loved it. And
This was in Austin.
Yep, this was in Austin, Texas.
Went to high school in Austin, Texas.
I went I went to high school in Hutto, Texas.
Oh,
It's a suburb. It's like 45 minutes.
it's like
which is
Plano
still a suburb.
to Dallas.
Irving
Irving to Dallas.
Probably not Irving to Dallas. Irving's dang close.
Yeah.
Now Hutto would be super close to Austin. It's more like Caldwell to Boise,
Okay.
which is gross. But yeah, it's
Is
like
it gross there too in that regard, or just Boise to Caldwell?
I don't know. Hutto now is booming, which is crazy, just because of all the like Austinian growth. But it wasn't. It was probably the Nampa. It might have been the Nampa. Might have been the Nampa of Austin.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I was going to high school in Hutto, Texas. Did theater all 4 years of high school. Was introduced to improv there, and I actually I never felt comfortable pursuing acting as a career out of high school. I went and I did some classes and tried to pursue it a little bit, but I never wanted to just like pack up everything I owned in a like a stick, with a little like red and white polka dot,
a little
and
hobo
just
bag.
and just head on off to LA and hope it works out. I was a very financially minded person that did not make me feel comfortable, and so like right out of high school, I was going to get my math associates, and I was going to become a teacher. And maybe once I got hired, I'd direct high school theater. Like that's where I thought acting was going to be for me. And I actually, right after I graduated, I was still living in Austin. I was working at a karaoke bar. I was a karaoke DJ, and of course,
I can see that.
yeah, it's the whole thing. And karaoke. So Cap City Comedy Club is this big comedy club in Austin. I had a ton of friends that were comedians. They'd come and do karaoke after the open mics and shows and things, and that's how I kind of got introduced to stand-up comedy, because a good friend of mine, who was actually the friend that offered my wife the job, right,
okay.
or me, and same friend, he got me to do my first open mic when I was like 21. and it was in Austin. So technically, I sort of did stand up before any of it, really. You know, I didn't pursue acting or improv until I got up here to Boise, and that was like 7 years after the fact, 8 years after the fact. But that was kind of my first introduction to stand up. It's really crazy to see like where all those people are now, though, because like I made some friends.
The people you'd started BFP with? Or?
No. That I knew from my karaoke band.
Oh, okay, right. From your Texas days.
Yeah, and you know, because a lot of them have like just really great careers now.
As comics?
As comics, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, so recent 208 comedy, Maggie May.
Okay.
So she like we used to do karaoke like all the time. Like
Nice.
she was like it was a whole thing. And then I another buddy of mine is just doing a really, really great job as a stand-up comic and like artist in LA right now. His name's Ramin Nazer. But he's just really, really awesome, you know, artwork, creative artwork. Has a super cool Instagram. But anyways, you know, it's kind of cool to like to just see where everyone has gone, you know.
Well, I mean, I'll say it's been fun watching your progression as a stand-up and even as an improv actor. I mean, because when you and I first met, you were correct me if I'm wrong, you were taking classes with Sean Hancock of Recycled Minds.
Yes, right? I think so. I think, so my whole like improv career in Boise started. I had done a photo shoot with Mike Bryant.
Okay.
And that's how I met Megan Bryant. And then like 6 months after the fact, or a few months after the fact, she calls me up and she's like, "Hey, like I'm restarting my improv troupe. We're going to be practicing on Wednesdays in my living room. That you seem like you would do well at it. Do you want to try it?" I'm like, and I'm like, "Oh, I love improv. I did it in high school. It was great." You know, so that's how I jumped into it. And, you know, and then a couple months later, I did my first show. And then it wasn't until the following year she was like, "Yeah, I'm going to take Sean's, you know, level 2 class." And so, you know, I started taking the class, and then right after that class, not maybe 1 or 2 months after that, I was asked to like join Recycled Minds and become like a main stage player, and then Sean and I started doing duo shows and traveling and doing that, and then we did that for about 2 years, and then I broke off and started doing my own thing.
Nice. Now, since this is a personal growth podcast, did you have any? Were there ever any moments where like you hit like a like what am I trying? Like I was so busy listening to what you were saying that I wasn't formulating the question in my head.
Thanks.
But what do you find that there was a point where you said, and I know you had said that the work started coming in more and you were more financially stable and able to pursue it full time, but was there ever a point where you thought like, I'm going to give myself such and such amount of time for this to happen for me, otherwise or was that just never a factor? Was it always just like, yes, and I'm gonna do this, and this is what it is, and there's no backup? And
I think it's both. You know, I think there were several moments where I'm like, all right, like I have to have like a reoccurring something or like a big gig by March. You know, I have to have it in the next 4 months, or we got to go back to a day job for a bit. And but I think that a lot of that is really just in some ways out of my hands a little bit, you know, because everything that I've been doing to get work, I mean, all that started months ago. I mean, the stuff that I'm doing right now to like is not creating work for me in like 2 weeks. It's not creating work for me in a month.
Like
it's
6 months down the road.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
it's like you're laying eggs.
Exactly. You know, and I think that, I mean, yeah.
Don't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs.
But I mean, that's how I feel. That's kind of been my experience with, you know, just the growth of my career is it's been a slow process. It's been just planting seeds, laying eggs, and waiting for them to hatch. And for a